We'll bring the meeting to order. First order of business, we'll do the pledge. All righty, we'll do the roll call.
Okay. I'm sorry. Douglas Deerlick,
Here.
C.D. Lewis Jr.,
Here.
Bobby Bryant. Here. Danita Dampierre. Not able to make it. Paula Stark.
Here.
Tony Jones.
Here.
Richard Clark. Not able to make it. Elizabeth Lamong. Here. And Jeffrey Gerstenlauer. Not able to make it. No. We're in a quorum.
Oh, there's Richard.
I think Mr. Clark's here.
Where am I here? Okay. All right. Next order of business would be approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we're good. All righty. Let's see. Old business, none. How do we get with that? How do we do that? All right.
By not having any more business.
All right. New business. Staff introductions.
Good evening, Andre Anderson, Community Development Director. I would like to take this opportunity to formally introduce myself to this board. The prior person that normally handles this meeting is Trevor Bedford, who many of you know got a promotion and has moved on to another local jurisdiction. So he will not be here anymore. I will be handling this board in the interim until we replace his position. I'd also like to introduce to you Anita Taylor. She will be handling the board secretary functions. The prior individual in that location has also received a promotion and is now the business navigator for the city. Was Abismal Abreu, and so Anita will be handling this in the future.
All right, no more promotions.
Yes. And at this moment, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce Councilmember Dave Askew. He has joined us tonight to make a presentation to you.
First of all, Dave Askew, City Council, I truly appreciate you guys being here and especially spending all your time away from your family, doing what you're doing here. I came from a town in upstate New York a long time ago before I moved to Florida in '88, and it was founded in 1758, became a village in 1803. So I understand sort of your feeling and how you feel about things here. And I appreciate everything that you do. I try to keep a track on what's going on here, especially through Paula. I tend to meet with her a little bit more probably than Tony. But thank you, everybody, for being up here. And if there's any questions you ever have, please feel free to check out with staff. If you can't get an answer, I'd be happy to try to find it for you as well. So we do have some appreciation gifts here. I don't know if we want to read them off or we can just hand them off to everybody. Cool thing in the bag, by the way. I just want to let you know. Great for the car. So who's the first person? Richard Clark would be the first person. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
We're putting you to work, Andre. Bobby Bryant. Thank you so much, Bobby. Appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you. No treadmill tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Paula Stark. Thank you for everything you do, Paula, not only with this board, but with Main Street as well.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Got a little heft here.
Tony Jones.
Emergency roadside kit.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Askew.
You're welcome. C.D. Lewis. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Appreciate it.
Oh, I really need this.
So again, appreciate everything you do beyond, on behalf of the mayor and the city council. If there's anything we could do for you, or if there's something that you need, please reach out to us, or please reach out to staff. And we truly need this board. I appreciate you guys being here, appreciate you showing up and making things better for the city. Truly believe that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for everything. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.
The next item on the agenda is just talk about the reappointments and new appointees. The city council at their last meeting made some reappointments. One is reappointed Paula Stark. Her term now continues until November 2023. A reappointment for Tony Jones. Your appointment goes until November 2023. And Richard Clark, your appointment goes until November 2023. And then they made new appointments to the alternate positions to Elizabeth Lamug. I'll give you your packet.
Thank you.
It's not a gift.
It's a gift whether you like it or not.
And also to Jeffrey Gerstenlauer, who's also been appointed to alternate 2 position. Both terms end November 2022. In your packet, in the manila envelope, you will see your ethics certificate for those that participated. And you'll also see the 2020 guide to Florida Sunshine Amendment. As a public board, you're required to follow those requirements. And I know that many of you already been through the course, and I think Paula may be the only one that has not
Right.
had a chance to go through that. So we'll have to get that scheduled for you soon.
Okay.
And if you know, it's light reading, that little booklet, so take your time, read it. So any questions at this point? Okay, great. So the next item that we are required to do is annually, we are required to review the bylaws, and that was included in your packet. And I don't know how, Chairman, you'd like to do this discussion, but it's really your call as to how you want to proceed. But you have the opportunity at this point to review the bylaws and make adjustments as you see fit.
Well, I'm kind of new at this too, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, you know, this is kind of your charter as to how you perform as a board, and I don't know if there's anything that's been a challenge over the past year that you want to do differently.
I think in terms of I mean, I'll open it up to everyone if they have any suggestions or anything that we do. I know some of the hurdles we've been running through have been some of the documentation process for people making their applications and then coming before the board on what we see or have known to have happened. We had to make a decision on one case that came up, and we didn't get a chance to talk to the building inspector who had kind of been driving the whole situation. So I want to make sure we don't get railroaded to a certain extent. in this particular case, the project came out, I think, okay, and I can sleep well at the end of the night. But I want to make sure we have the right documentation or making the right decisions based on what we have, because that's all we have to go on is what we have. We don't know some of the back history and some of that some of the staff or the applicant may have.
Okay, so given what you just said, the location within your bylaws that may respond to the address, that would be item paragraph E, public comment, presentations, time limits. That's the only place that I see that you could, if you want to add more provisions regarding how the applications look, you know, in terms
So,
of.
Mr. Anderson, this may not be under bylaws, but I think I know what the chairman's talking about. I think it was the decision about the hotel.
Yes, I know.
And we had probably about 45 minutes of discussion without knowing apparently there'd been a demolition order given. I learned a lot. I only went through building construction 101, so we learned a lot about the roof and the windows and other things. But I would like on all the cases to know, one, what is the city's position? Just usually like you go to a city council meeting or a county commission meeting, either the city is for or against the petition, or you've taken no position. And we do need to know if there's been a demolition order, I think is relevant. So I would treat it like a court case. As attorneys, we're required to give the court all the information, even if it's contrary to your position. So as trier of fact, I think we need all the facts before us, and we don't need it 45 minutes or an hour later. I don't think anybody intentionally did this. But I'd like to know on every application, is the city supporting it, not, et cetera, please, sir.
Okay, I made a note of that, and I'll add that to our application.
And my question has to do with some of the things that have come up, and then we had to have a special meeting on another case as well that had already had processes that were done. I wonder if it's because we're not meeting often enough. So I don't know that we're as abreast of the situations when they're coming up where they could even have those early documentations. And then there's also been meetings that have been canceled because there wasn't anything. So I do wonder if that has a play in it, possibly. I don't know if anybody else on the board feels the same way, but that would be my question.
Item A, just 1 second. Item A talks about the frequency of our meetings, and you're required to have a minimum, but doesn't mean you can't have more. And I
Correct.
think the way we have it set right now, you can call a special meeting as needed, so. I mean,
But who would make that determination, Andre, if we don't really know what's in the loop?
Right, well, we would notify the chair and say, hey, we have this application coming, they need it approved by this date, and then we would get with the chair and say, we need to hold a special meeting.
Right.
And then we would get
But
it scheduled
in
right
the
away.
case of at least one of them that came in front of us, it was months after he had been working with staff.
I see.
And so by the time it came to us, a lot of things had already transpired, and there was a sense of frustration. I think it worked out ultimately, but there was that sense that, had I known or could have come to you all prior to, then maybe
Understood.
some of this would have been resolved, or there would have been additional information shared.
Absolutely.
That's kind of what you're referencing, Bobby. So those kinds of things, I think, and here's an example, because Trevor came and did the update, the historic preservation update for Breakfast with the Pros, and in his presentation, he had that there had been 32 applications or projects, however you want to reference that, but only 3 out of the 32 had come before this board. So depending on what criteria is being used and staff is determining which things you all are trying to work through versus coming here, where's the fine line between when does it need to come here? Like in the case of, this was the house on Massachusetts, the Penn House on Massachusetts Avenue that we're kind of referencing. Is there like a disconnect between how do you do that?
Well, I apologize, I don't know what decision that transpired there, but I did just briefly review the matrix that the board had reviewed and made some decisions as to what thresholds staff would review versus what would come before this board. And if we need to refine that further, we can do that.
Well, one of my because I agree with the recommendations so far here, but I would recommend that we look at that again.
Okay, sure.
Andre, based on what I'm hearing, it's more a matter, I mean, as far as how it applies to the bylaws, the only thing that I see that would be added is whether or not in the agenda you wanted to add a staff report and put a staff report item in there so that we're aware of any applications that staff's reviewed and have just a general outline of, it could just be as simple as address, item of item of application and resolution, just so that the board itself knows what the staff has done in the previous month that we did not meet.
Right. And just to point to that, Andre, is we have requested that a couple of times.
You have, okay.
So, I mean, I don't know that there's anything else that I think needs to be changed within the
In the bylaws.
bylaws,
Yeah.
other than with the addition of having a staff report of relevant historic preservation items.
Okay, I made a note that we'll do a staff update as part of the agenda.
I'm accustomed to always having a staff report with its recommendations that are responsive to the applicant's application and address each item in that application.
And I think that's typically made when we've had what we've had come to us. I'm just saying, I think what I've heard is that we as a board would like to know even the non-board items that have come that are relevant to the historic preservation element.
Absolutely, we can do that. So what I'm hearing is that we need to kind of enhance our application process to provide more information in the staff reports, everything, staff's position, as well as provide an update of items that are not brought before this board for review. And then also ensure that the applicant gives us the full breadth of information so you can make a decision.
Right. And to that end, because there's not a lot, I don't think, that you want to necessarily put in your bylaws, you don't want to make that heavy. But should there be, and is there an opportunity for us to have one of our meetings to go over our goals and projects?
That's your call, absolutely, absolutely.
I think we should, Doug.
And I hate to kind of bring this up because I probably should know this, but in reading the bylaws, it says there's a preservation plan. Do we ever actually do that? I don't know that we
I don't think so.
have.
There's
I've
a
not
few
seen-
things we
I went through the
haven't
files and I have not seen anything that says we did a preservation plan.
I don't think it's been created yet.
Okay, all right.
Which brings me to my question that I've been trying to get recognized
Mr. Chair?
for. Hi.
You got it.
I got it, okay. If we look out in the audience, it's clear there's no one here. There's never anyone here, and except Mr. Askew and a little person in the back of the room.
I
And
like that little person.
and Andre at the podium. And we have our new staff person, is it Alice?
Anita.
Anita, it's an A word, with us. But we need to do something to create an awareness, and maybe this would be through a plan, having a meeting where we do something to invite and encourage the public to come and help us create the plan. It shouldn't be created just by us. We need to know what's important to the public, to the citizens of St. Cloud, to be in the plan. Maybe this room is the wrong place to have that type of a meeting, to invite people to come and tell us.
So typically when we hold public forums for getting public input, we will typically hold it off-site at possibly the community center
Yes.
or the marina building, and set it up as a boards and whatever. So it seems that we did not go through that process with this preservation plan, and we will definitely look into how we would want to proceed, and we can lay out an outline of how we want to move forward. Specifically, what the preservation plan calls for is a plan, and you also need to identify funding sources and future preservation projects that the board may be interested in doing. So we have to put something together and obviously get the board's buy-in as well, because it would cost money. Of course, the benefit of this historic district at this time is that it's within the CRA, and so there's opportunities for additional funding mechanisms if we have identified projects within this district. If you recall, when this was first adopted several years ago, there was also talk about ultimately maybe expanding it depending on what areas would qualify. So that's another thing that could be also part of your preservation plan.
And just as a point of order on the preservation plan, if I remember correctly, we were not going to be able to do that until after the survey was
Yeah, I was going to
accomplished,
bring that
correct?
up. We needed a survey.
So I believe the survey has,
Well, that's
it's in
being done.
progress, has to be finished before we could move forward on that.
It's in the process.
So-
I think Paula can probably speak to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's an item that will happen
Sure.
once we have the documented information.
And that's why we moved that grant application up, and we did that through Main Street, so you wouldn't have to wait another year.
Yep.
Because at the time, staff would have had to have waited another year in order to not have the match. But it has been contracted as of October 1, it was contracted, and it's in process. They've had 2 site visits already, so they're working on it.
Okay. Is there anything else? I don't have anything else to offer at this point, but I did take some notes as to things we need to
So,
look at.
so Doug, are we looking to Andre for us to review our goals and mission? It's been 2 years, I think, since we actually looked at that. And I think even from the beginning, there may be some adjustments we want to or need to, depends on how you want to look at it, take into consideration. So if I remember, there were some items on there that we haven't done anything on, taken any action on it, which is fine. But if we're not going to, there are probably other entities that we could, ask to take that on, like Main Street. There's one of them in particular that I know Main Street has for several years considered doing, but we've been waiting for what the board here was going to do. So I think it wouldn't probably take very long to go through that list.
No, I agree with you, and I think, I haven't seen them for a while. I usually on an annual basis like to go back and review goals. Did we hit them? Did we not hit them?
Right.
If these are done, what are the next ones to hit, kind of thing?
Okay, so what we can do for you, we can create a matrix and identify the status. So I can get that back to you for the next meeting, so you can, before the next meeting, obviously, but so you can see what's been done, if anything. I just happen to have them here with me.
Yeah.
But I can definitely put in a matrix for you.
And on that same line, I don't know where we are on the agenda, Andre, but I know previously there were certain items that haven't necessarily been mentioned in our historic board meetings. For example, what was transpiring with the power plant. There's lots of things going on with it and meetings that are being held through staff and various other things, but it hasn't necessarily come here. So some of those kind of items, I think, should at least be presented to our group. It is in the historic district.
Okay.
So when there's a project that, is in this particular case, in danger, and there's a lot of, discussion and what's going to do with it, I think this board needs to have that information as well. Maybe it just goes along with the other report.
That's what I was going to say.
Right.
I'll include the staff update as well.
Right.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, for some reason, that project was strangely quiet. It was a kind of a, we can't talk about it kind of thing, so I don't know what was happening with it, but I agree with you. Anybody else?
No, I wouldn't have heard about it if I hadn't gone to the work session that was about it.
I wouldn't have heard about it if it hadn't been for Paula, so. All right, anybody else? Anything? All right, well then we'll move on to the next item, which would be public comment.
Don't everybody rush at one time.
Dave, you don't want to
Lose
be,
our little
you don't want to
guy?
be the public now?
This is your opportunity.
All right, well, if that's the case, then we'll go into individual board comments.
Well, I'll start. I just want to make sure to update you all on St. Cloud Main Street made application to the state to increase their, our footprint. So we now not only go from Florida to Massachusetts, 13th to Lakeshore, but we go from Maryland to Missouri on 10th Street and on Lakeshore. So we have an expanded area that we will be sending notice out, hopefully very soon, to those new people that are in our footprint, so they'll realize where they are. And just so you'll know, we did have a meeting Friday morning on the opportunity zones, and so we did present that to the folks who were there as it related to our opportunity zone includes our Main Street footprint, our CRA, our historic district is in it, and it seems like one other one, Andre, what am I missing? Oh, the CRA is in it. So we have like 4 boundaries that all fall into our opportunity zone, and ultimately will include, if it goes through council, the entertainment zone.
The entertainment zone already exists.
Okay.
We're just making some modifications to it.
All right,
Yes,
but it's
it-
expanding, right? Because it's going
No,
from
it's-
Mass to Florida?
Yeah, the alley beyond the alley on the other side of Florida.
Okay,
And then to Massachusetts, the alley behind Massachusetts, yes.
Okay.
And it's always been that way. We just, we're making some minor modifications to it regarding open container.
yeah.
Because that was the thing that was pulled out initially.
Okay. So just so you know, we have this footprint that has all this stuff in it. And for a lot of people, depending on what they're doing on the economic development side, that can really factor into what they do, don't do, what have you, so.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
I have no comment.
I have no comment.
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to say, don't take it personally, Tony, nobody shows up. I was on the Charter Review Committee for 8 years for the county, and we had the same attendance. And it was major things being discussed. I think people would rather stay home and comment on Facebook and do those kind of things. You just can't get the public to come out. My wife is in charge of the Osceola Orchestra and is very talented musicians and great music, and they're lucky to get 20 people there. So it's just, unfortunately, the American way now.
Right. If I could take a second and respond, I agree, and I think maybe the best way to get input from people is through the social media of some type or on a website that the city creates, because people are very plugged into doing things electronically, and everyone's time is important to them.
We actually do have a section on the city website, but there's nothing in it. So,
Well, you have to put something there to
we
lure
do.
the bears.
I want to remind everyone, too, we had the young lady from St. Cloud Historic Preservation Board come down, and she had a number of good ideas that I think we could probably use to help with this plan and get more people interested.
What, you mean from Kissimmee
No,
Historic?
no, the lady from Sanford.
Okay, yes.
She's no longer there.
Where did she?
As a matter of fact, she is one of the people doing our inventory.
So she's been promoted too. It's epidemic.
Well, good, let's let that move over to where I work, so, you know. All righty. If we don't have anything else,
I just have one question.
Okay.
Andre, as we're moving forward with the inventory grant completion and reports as they go, how would you as staff like for Main Street to handle that? Would you like for us to bring the results to this board first? How do we see us disseminating that info?
Coordinate with staff and then bring it to this board. I mean, it's an inventory for historic preservation, so it would make sense to go to this board first to get a recommendation that says this board recommends this inventory for this reason, and we take it to the city council.
Okay.
and
I
consider
do
it.
think somewhere in the process, just the whole state process, there are some public meetings that will
Yes.
need to be held.
Right.
So just get with you so we can coordinate those
Yes,
things.
she already reached out to me.
Okay.
But I just hadn't had a chance.
Okay, cool.
Because I don't have staff, so
Yeah.
running around doing many things. But
Well,
I'll
I
get
know
with her.
I gave her a lot of different contacts, but I'm not sure who all she was able to contact yet, so, well, that's good that she got hold of you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we're doing the right things.
Yes.
All right, anything else? No? All right. Next section is informational section. Next meeting is Tuesday, March 12th, 2020 at 6 o'clock. Everyone's also been given our meeting schedule to take a look at. And if we need to change anything, we can either do it now or do it at the next meeting. So before we adjourn then, how y'all doing? Since we kind of passed the public thing, but since it's, we're not too busy at the moment, is there anything y'all wanted to say, or
No, he's here to observe for one of his Eagle projects.
it was 192?
He is.
Ah,
Thanks for observing.
Well, invite him to come up
come on up.
and tell us about your Eagle project.
We're going to put you on the spot now, so.
All right, so
Why don't we start with your name? How's that?
I'm Hayden Jones. I am from Troop 182, as y'all have observed. I am doing this to work my way towards Eagle for a merit badge that I am currently doing. So I am here to take notes of what you guys have discussed and any issues that you guys have discussed. I will take notes, and then I'll have to take whatever I have, report it to my merit badge counselor, and be able to say anything in my own words that you guys have said in this meeting or any other meeting, so I can earn that merit badge, so I can earn my way to Eagle.
Is this your only meeting, or are you going to have multiple meetings?
Probably multiple.
Okay. All right, well, we will do whatever we can to help you with your quest for
And-
Eagle.
I remember my merit badge times. One meeting probably would never have cut it.
And you could start by asking her for a copy of our agenda for tonight. And in a couple of weeks or so, our minutes, draft minutes should be ready. And you could look at those.
Okie dokie.
Okay, and I would encourage you to go to other public hearings, and sometimes they'll have a sign-up sheet out by the doors, so look for that and sign up. And I encourage you to get involved with your local government as much as you can. And do you see this gentleman over here in the black jacket with the glasses? Mr. Askew is on our city council. He's one of the people that makes the laws for our city and takes care of things in our town, things that are important to you. So you might want to come to a city council meeting early and sign up to do public comments. They're at the very beginning of the agenda, so you have to get there on time. Okay?
He's the guy to be nice to.
Yes, because he has the power. Thank you for coming out tonight.
You're welcome.
All righty, does anybody have anything else for the greater good?
No, but I believe we're all covered.
All right, then we'll make a motion for adjournment.
I so move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion has it.